The day my family discovered I wasn't the disappointment they thought I was, my mother wore Chanel and a sneer that could curdle milk. I remember because it was the same expression she'd worn at my PhD defence 3 months earlier, the one she'd walked out of halfway through. My name is Ingrid, and I've spent 31 years being the lesser Arnold daughter, the quiet one, the plain one, the one who chose sensible shoes over society parties and textbooks over trust fund shopping sprees. 2%, Mother announced, waving the preliminary inheritance document like a victory flag. That's more than generous considering your contributions to the family name. We sat in Grandfather's study, that magnificent room lined with leather-bound books he'd actually read, unlike the decorative ones Mother kept in the main house. Daphne sprawled across his antique leather chair, his chair, scrolling through her phone with perfectly manicured nails. "Did you really expect more?" Daphne looked up, her smile sharp as a paper cut. "I mean, what have you done except hide in libraries and waste time on that ridiculous doctorate?" I said nothing, just sipped my tea and watched the steam rise. The family lawyer, Mr. Patterson, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should proceed with the full reading," he suggested, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. "What's the point?" Mother sighed dramatically. "Lawrence's wishes were clear. The bulk goes to Daphne as it should. She's the one who understands our position in society, the one who—" "Actually, Mrs. Arnold," Patterson interrupted, "there are several additional clauses we need to address." Daphne's head snapped up. "What clauses?" "We'll get to those momentarily." Patterson shuffled his papers, avoiding eye contact. "But first, let me confirm, Dr. Arnold, you completed your PhD in biomedical ethics last month." "She did," Mother cut in before I could speak. "Though why anyone would waste time on such an impractical—" "I did," I said quietly, my voice steady. "With distinction." Daphne snorted. "Oh, with distinction. Hear that, Mother? She got a gold star on her little paper. The dissertation," Patterson continued, it was titled Ethical Implications of Privately Funded Medical Research, a Critical Analysis of Corporate Responsibility in Human Trials. Correct?" Mother's perfectly plucked eyebrows drew together. "Mr. Patterson, is this relevant?" "Highly." He pulled out another document, this one sealed with the firm's emblem. "Before we proceed, I should mention there's a supplemental section of the will that—" "Oh, for heaven's sake!" Mother interrupted, standing up. "We all know what Father wanted. Daphne carries the Arnold legacy. She's the face of this family, the one who—" "Regina," Patterson said firmly, using Mother's first name for the first time I could remember, "I strongly suggest you sit down for this next part." The room went quiet. Even Daphne lowered her phone. "What next part?" she demanded, her voice pitched higher than usual. "Daddy Lawrence left everything to me. That was always the plan. Right, Mother?" Mother's face had gone slightly pale, but she waved a dismissive hand. "Whatever addendum Lawrence added, it can't possibly affect the primary inheritance. The trust is ironclad." "About that," Patterson said, breaking the seal on the envelope, "there's something you should know regarding the trusteeship." I set down my teacup, the gentle clink echoing in the sudden silence. Through the study window I could see Grandfather's prized roses swaying in the autumn breeze. He'd taught me to tend them when I was small, while Daphne and Mother were at spa days. "Patience," he'd always said, carefully pruning each stem. "The sweetest blooms take time." Mother must have caught my slight smile because her eyes narrowed. "Ingrid, what did you do?" I met her gaze steadily, thinking of all the times she'd used that same accusatory tone, when I'd chosen a state university over her preferred private college, when I'd turned down the debutante ball to study for my MCATs, when I'd moved into a tiny apartment instead of staying in the family mansion. "I didn't do anything, Mother," I replied calmly. "I just finished my doctorate, like Grandfather asked me to." "Asked you to?" Daphne's voice cracked slightly. "What are you talking about?" Patterson cleared his throat again, holding up the document. "Perhaps we should let the will speak for itself. There's a rather significant clause that takes effect upon confirmation of Dr. Arnold's PhD completion. Mother sank slowly back into her chair, her designer outfit suddenly looking like armour that had lost its shine. "Lawrence," she whispered, "you didn't." But he had. And as Patterson prepared to read the next section, I thought about that last conversation with Grandfather, just months before he died. "Finish it," he'd said, squeezing my hand. "Show them what a real Arnold is made of." I was about to do exactly that. "You look exactly like him when you do that," Bentley said, watching me organise stacks of papers across his office desk. Lawrence used to line everything up at perfect right angles too. I hadn't slept much since the initial will reading 3 days ago. Instead, I'd been methodically gathering documentation, preparing for what would come next. The second session was scheduled for tomorrow morning. "Did you double-check the completion dates?" I asked, tapping the PhD certification. "Triple-checked." Bentley leaned back in his chair, loosening his tie. "Everything's time-stamped and notarized. The trust transfer is legally bulletproof." My phone buzzed. Another message from Daphne. I ignored it, just like I'd ignored the previous 12. She'd been oscillating between threats and desperate attempts at reconciliation since Patterson had hinted at the supplemental clause. "Remember that night in the university lab?" I asked, surprising myself by speaking the memory aloud. "When everything almost fell apart?" Bentley nodded. "The power outage, 3 months of cell cultures gone in an instant. I called Grandfather crying, told him I was giving up, that Mother was right. I wasn't cut out for this." I straightened another paper stack. "You know what he said?" "What?" "He said, 'Good thing Arnolds are too stubborn to stay down.' Then he told me to get back to work." I smiled faintly. I didn't know he was already sick then. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mother. "Ingrid, darling." Her voice dripped honey-coated venom. "Join us for lunch. Daphne's planning her summer villa rental in Dubrovnik. We should discuss as a family." "I have meetings all day," I replied flatly. "With whom? Surely not that Morgan boy again. You know his family's new money?" I caught Bentley rolling his eyes and had to suppress a laugh. "Goodbye, Mother." "She still has no idea, does she?" Bentley asked after I hung up. "None of them do." I pulled up my calendar, checking the time for tomorrow's reading. They never bothered to learn what I actually study. Biomedical ethics, corporate responsibility. They probably think it's all theoretical. Their mistake. Bentley stood up, walking to his office window. "You know they'll fight it." "Let them." I gathered the papers into my briefcase. Everything's legal, everything's documented, and everything's about to change. Walking through the downtown streets afterward, I passed the coffee shop where I'd worked during grad school. 6 years of early morning shifts, juggling coffee orders while reviewing research papers. Mother had called it demeaning. Daphne had brought her friends in just to mock me. But every penny I earned went toward that PhD. My phone rang again. This time it was Sasha. "Tell me you're not working yourself to death," she said, instead of hello. "I'm fine." "Liar. I know that tone. You're in full revenge mode." I stopped at a crosswalk, watching the traffic flow past. "It's not revenge, it's justice. Same thing, different spelling." She sighed. "Just remember who you are, okay? Don't let them turn you into them." "I won't." But even as I said it, I remembered the cold satisfaction I'd felt watching Mother's face pale during the first reading. "I have to go. Meeting with Patterson in an hour." Back in my small apartment, I pulled out the last letter Grandfather had sent me. The paper was worn from repeated reading, but his handwriting remained clear and strong. "My dear girl, keep going. What you're studying matters more than they know. The truth always surfaces eventually. Just finish what you started, and I promise everything will make sense. All my love, Grandfather." He died 2 weeks later. My phone lit up with a text from Daphne. "Just booked the villa, 6 weeks of Mediterranean bliss. You should come, if you can afford it, on your sad little stipend." I thought about responding, about warning her not to make any non-refundable deposits. Instead, I just smiled and started preparing my outfit for tomorrow. Something professional, something understated, something worthy of a trustee. The doorbell rang. Bentley holding takeout and more documents. "One last review?" he asked, holding up the bags. "One last review," I agreed, letting him in. We spread everything across my small dining table, going over each detail again. The clause, the requirements, the transfer of power. Everything had to be perfect. "You know," Bentley said quietly, "Lawrence would be proud." Would he? I looked at the scattered papers. Sometimes I wonder if this is what he really wanted. "Trust me," Bentley met my eyes. "This is exactly what he wanted. Tomorrow they'll finally understand why." I nodded, turning back to the documents. In less than 24 hours, the family that had dismissed me for 3 decades would learn just how much that dismissal had cost them. Let them book their villas. Let them plan their parties. Let them think nothing had changed. Tomorrow would take care of itself. Upon confirmation of Dr. Ingrid's doctorate in biomedical ethics, Patterson read from the document, his voice steady and clear, "Complete control of the Arnold Family Trust transfers immediately and irrevocably to her sole trusteeship." The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 seconds. "What?" Daphne shrieked, jumping up from her chair. "This is a joke. This has to be a joke." Mother's face had gone from pale to ashen. "Patterson, there must be some mistake." "No mistake." He adjusted his glasses, continuing to read. "Furthermore, the new trustee shall have complete discretion over all future allocations, including the authority to freeze or terminate existing disbursements at will." Daphne whirled toward me, her designer dress swishing. "You knew about this. You planned this." "I worked for it," I corrected quietly. "There's a difference." "This is absolutely illegal," Mother declared, standing up. Lawrence was clearly not in his right mind when he added this absurd clause. "Actually," Bentley spoke up from his corner of the room, opening his briefcase, "I have the documentation right here. Signed, witnessed and notarized 6 months before his death. Medical certification of sound mind included." "You," Mother spat the word at him. "Of course you're involved. Your father always was too close to Lawrence." Bentley smiled thinly. "Close enough to know exactly what he was doing when he set this up." Daphne grabbed her phone, manicured fingers trembling. "I'm calling Marcus. He's the best trust attorney in—" "Call whoever you want," I interrupted, standing up. "The clause is ironclad. I've spent the last 6 years making sure of it." "6 years?" Mother's eyes narrowed. "The PhD, the research focus, you planned this all along." "No, Mother. Grandfather planned it. I just did the work." "Work?" Daphne laughed hysterically. "You call hiding in libraries work. I'm the one who maintained our social position. I'm the one who spent millions on parties and designer clothes." I finished for her. "Who turned the Arnold name into a social media brand?" "Yes, I noticed." Patterson cleared his throat. "There's more." "More?" Mother's voice cracked. "The transfer includes full voting control of Arnold Biotech Holdings." The room spun into chaos. Daphne screamed something about her trust fund. Mother lunged for the documents. Patterson stepped back, protecting the papers. "This is our legacy," Mother shouted. "You can't possibly understand how to manage—" "Actually," Bentley cut in, "her dissertation specifically analysed the ethical implications of privately funded medical research. She's probably the most qualified person in this room to manage a biotech company." "You planned this," Daphne repeated, tears streaming down her face. "All those years pretending to be the quiet little bookworm. You were plotting to steal everything." "Steal?" I felt my careful composure crack slightly. "Like you stole my college fund for your starter marriage. Like Mother stole my inheritance from Dad to renovate the Hampton house." "That money was put to proper use," Mother snapped. "Maintaining our position requires—" "Save it." I picked up my bag. Patterson will provide you with the complete documentation, effective immediately. All discretionary spending from the trust requires my approval." "But the villa," Daphne whispered. I just put down the deposit." "I'd cancel it." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Mother, the staff's special compensation program ends today. They'll receive standard wages only from now on." "You can't do this to us," Mother's voice shook with rage. "We're your family." "Family?" I looked back at them, these beautiful, terrible women who had shaped my life with their cruelty. "You should have thought of that sooner." Bentley followed me out, leaving them with Patterson. In the hallway, their shouts echoed behind us. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "No," I admitted, but I will be." My phone buzzed. Sasha checking in. I texted back quickly. "It's done." "What now?" Bentley asked as we walked toward the exit. "Now we start the audit. Every transaction, every project, every trial approval from the last 20 years. I pushed open the heavy door, stepping into the sunlight. "Grandfather left me more than money, didn't he?" Bentley's expression turned serious. "Much more. But that's a conversation for tomorrow." Behind us, I heard Daphne's voice rise in another scream of rage. Through the window, I saw her throw her phone against the wall. "Should we be worried?" Bentley nodded toward the scene. "No," I said, thinking of all the years I'd spent being quiet, being patient, being underestimated. "They've never handled losing control well, but they're about to learn how." My phone buzzed again. "Mother, of course." I declined the call and turned it off. "Ready?" Bentley asked. I looked back at the family estate one last time, remembering all the tears I'd shed behind its elegant walls. More than ready. The real work was just beginning. "Your sister's credit card was just declined at Bergdorf's," Bentley announced, walking into my office with a coffee. "Apparently she tried to charge $30,000 worth of crisis shopping to the trust account." I didn't look up from my laptop. How unfortunate. She's trending on Twitter, Sir Arnold Harris breakdown. Now I did look up. What happened? She threw a champagne glass at a waiter and screamed about her backstabbing sister in front of everyone. He set my coffee down. "The video's going viral." I opened Twitter, watching my perfectly poised sister completely lose it in designer wear. The comments were brutal. Her influencer friends were already distancing themselves. "Mother called," I said, closing the tab. 4 times this morning, the country club cancelled their membership. "Because you froze the payments." "Because I revealed they've been embezzling membership fees for years." I took a sip of coffee. Amazing what you find when you actually read the financial records. My phone buzzed. "Sasha, tell me you're not working on a Saturday," she said when I answered. "Just finishing some trust business." "You mean plotting more revenge?" "I mean protecting our grandfather's legacy." I signed another document. "Did you see the article about the wine club scandal?" "Ingrid," Sasha's voice softened, "when does this end?" Before I could answer, my office door burst open. Daphne stood there, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a designer bag that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Fix this," she demanded. "Fix it now." I gestured for Bentley to stay seated. "Fix what, exactly?" "My cards, my accounts. Quinton won't even take my calls because I couldn't pay for dinner last night." She threw her bag onto my desk, scattering papers. "I'm your sister." "Now, you remember that?" I kept my voice level. "Where was that sisterly feeling when you told everyone at my graduation party that I only got into med school because grandfather paid them off?" "That was years ago. We were kids." "You were 25. I stood up slowly. "And now you're 33, still living off other people's money, still treating everyone like they're beneath you." "What do you want?" Her voice cracked. "An apology. Fine. I'm sorry. Is that what you need to hear?" "What I need," I said quietly, "is for you to leave my office." "Or what?" She laughed hysterically. "You'll post more about Mother's embezzling, leak more stories about our family's financial irregularities. God, you're pathetic. You think ruining us makes you better." "No," I replied, "but watching you finally face consequences, that's just karma." She lunged forward, but Bentley was faster, stepping between us. "Ms. Daphne," he said firmly, "I suggest you leave before security arrives." She straightened, trying to gather her dignity. "This isn't over." "Actually, it is." I sat back down. "Your weekly allowance is permanently terminated. Sell some of your designer clothes if you need cash." After she stormed out, Bentley turned to me. "You okay?" "Fine." I reopened my laptop. "Let's finish the audit of the medical trial records." "Ingrid." "I'm fine," I repeated, but my hands were shaking slightly. Later that evening, I visited Grandfather's grave. The autumn air was crisp, leaves crunching under my feet as I approached the granite headstone. "I'm keeping my promise," I whispered, placing fresh roses by his name. "I'm fixing everything they broke." My phone buzzed, an email notification about Daphne's latest social media meltdown. Her boyfriend, Quinton, had publicly dumped her, citing her unstable behaviour and financial issues. "Is this what you wanted?" I asked the silent stone. "Did you know it would hurt this much?" The wind rustled through the trees, offering no answer. Walking back to my car, I noticed a black sedan parked nearby. The driver's side window rolled down, revealing an elderly man I didn't recognise. "He wasn't as good a man as you think," the man called out, then drove away before I could respond. My phone buzzed again. "Bentley." "You need to see this," he said when I answered. "I found something in the old trial records. Something bad." "How bad?" "Come to the office, now." I started the car, glancing back at Grandfather's grave one last time. The roses looked blood-red against the grey stone. At home later, I found an envelope had been slipped under my door. Inside was a single sheet of paper with the same message the man had called out. "He wasn't as good a man as you think." My hands trembled as I read it again. What had I stumbled into? What secrets was I about to uncover? The revenge I'd planned was supposed to be simple. Take their money, expose their cruelty, make them face reality. But standing there with that cryptic message in my hands, I realized this was just the beginning, and I wasn't sure I was ready for what came next. "Trial 247, Frank Morgan said, spreading decades-old documents across his kitchen table. "That's where it started." Bentley's father looked older than I remembered, his hands shaking slightly as he pulled out more yellowed papers. The morning sun through his windows cast long shadows across photographs of test subjects, medical charts, and handwritten notes. "What am I looking at?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "Your grandfather's legacy." Frank's voice was heavy. "The real one." He pointed to a photograph of a hospital ward. 19 patients, all terminal, all desperate for treatment. His finger moved to a document. "All dead within weeks." "That's not possible," I whispered. "The trust documents show all trials were successful." "The trust documents show what Regina, your mother, wanted them to show." He pulled out another file. She was head of PR back then, buried everything that could hurt the company's image. My throat felt dry. "And grandfather?" "Lawrence," Frank sighed. "He knew. He funded it all. The cover-ups, the settlements, the bribes." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you're not just the trustee of a fortune anymore." He met my eyes. "You're the keeper of secrets that could destroy thousands of lives." My phone buzzed. "Mother," again. I ignored it. "The biotech patents," I said slowly. "The ones generating most of the trust's income, based on data from unauthorized trials." Frank nodded. "Your sister's perfect life, built on blood money, your mother's social status, paid for with silence." I thought of my dissertation, the months spent researching corporate ethics in medical trials. All those papers I analysed were sanitized versions. Frank stood up, walking to a locked cabinet. "But I kept the originals. Lawrence made me promise." He returned with a sealed envelope. "He wrote this the day before he changed his will. Said to give it to you once you had control. My hands trembled as I opened it. My dearest Ingrid, by now you know the truth. The company, the trust, all of it built on choices I can never undo. I chose you as trustee, not because you were the quiet one, but because you were the honest one. The only one who might make this right. The money is yours, the truth is yours. The choice of what to do with both, that's yours too. I'm sorry for the burden. Love, grandfather. There's more, Frank said quietly, about your mother's involvement. Show me. For the next 2 hours, he laid out the whole ugly truth. Mother hadn't just covered up failed trials. She'd actively recruited desperate patients, promising miracle cures while knowing the risks. Daphne's first car, her debutante ball, her starter mansion, all paid for with settlement money from dead patients' families. My phone kept buzzing. Messages from Daphne. Mum's having a breakdown. The bank froze her accounts. Please just talk to us. What happens? I asked Frank, if this goes public. The company collapses, the patents become worthless, thousands lose jobs. He paused, including innocent people who never knew. And if it stays buried, then you become exactly what they are. Another Arnold protecting the family secrets. My phone buzzed again, Bentley this time. Where are you? Mother's at the office making threats. I have to go, I told Frank, gathering copies of the documents. Thank you, for the truth. Ingrid, he called as I reached the door. Lawrence really did love you. That's why he chose you. He knew you'd make the right choice. How can any choice here be right? He smiled sadly. That's exactly why you're the one who has to make it. Driving back to the office, I called Sasha. Remember when you said I was becoming one of them? I asked when she answered. What happened? I found out I already am. The money I'm controlling. It's all blood money. Then clean it up, she said simply. Isn't that what your whole PhD was about? Corporate responsibility. I thought about the documents in my passenger seat, about Mother's carefully constructed lies, about Grandfather's final confession. At a red light, I checked my messages. One from an unknown number caught my eye. Your grandfather ruined my family with his trials. Your mother buried the evidence. Now you hold their power. What kind of Arnold will you be? The light turned green. I drove on, thinking about choices and consequences, about revenge and responsibility. I'd wanted to punish my family. Instead, I'd inherited their sins. Now I had to decide, continue their legacy of secrets or burn it all down and face the flames myself. The answer would change everything, not just for my family, but for thousands of others. And I had to choose soon. He hit me the first time when Daphne was 2, Mother said, swirling her martini. She'd shown up at my apartment unannounced, somehow getting past building security. Your father was traditional in his methods of control. I stood by my kitchen counter, keeping distance between us. Why are you telling me this? Because you think you know everything now, don't you? She took a slow sip. Frank showed you the trial documents, told you about the cover-ups, but you don't know why. Enlighten me. Your father would have ruined us. He wanted to go public with the trial data, claim moral high ground. Her laugh was bitter. Do you know what happens to whistleblowers' families? I had 2 little girls to protect. By burying evidence, by letting more people die, by surviving. The martini glass shattered against my wall. I did what I had to do, just like you're doing now. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Bentley. Turn on the news, he said without greeting. Now. I grabbed my remote, Mother watching with narrowed eyes as I flipped to the local station. Social media influencer Daphne Arnold, seen here in an apparent breakdown outside exclusive nightclub Vertex, the reporter was saying. The footage showed my sister, mascara streaked, screaming at Quinton. Sources say the incident occurred after her boyfriend of 3 years publicly ended their relationship, citing recent financial troubles. Happy now? Mother asked quietly. You've destroyed your sister. She destroyed herself. Did she, or did I destroy her? Mother stood surprisingly steady despite the alcohol. I made her obsessed with image, with status, with money. I turned her into me because I thought it would keep her safe. She walked to my window, staring out at the city. And you, I pushed you away because you reminded me too much of him. The same quiet strength, the same damned moral compass. My phone buzzed with a text from Sasha. OMG, have you seen the video? Daphne's trending again. What do you want? I asked Mother. Want? I want my daughters back. I want to undo 20 years of mistakes. I want... She stopped, touching her temple. I want to not end up like my own mother, alone, bitter, drowning in secrets. A knock at my door interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Daphne, looking worse than she had on the news. When I opened the door, she practically fell inside. He posted everything, she sobbed. All our private messages, the money I borrowed, the lies about my followers, everything. Quinton? I asked, though I knew the answer. She nodded, mascara-stained tears dripping onto my carpet. I'm nothing now. No money, no reputation, no followers. She looked up at me, her perfect facade completely shattered. You've won. Are you happy now? Mother moved toward her, but Daphne jerked away. Don't, she screamed. This is your fault too. All those years pushing me to be perfect, to maintain the image, to never show weakness. I was trying to protect you, Mother whispered. By turning me into this. Daphne gestured at herself. I don't even know who I am without the money, without the followers, without the lies, I finished quietly. My phone buzzed again. Bentley. Found more files. It's worse than we thought. Much worse. I looked at these broken women in my apartment. My mother drowning in decades of justifications. My sister crumbling under the weight of false perfection. I have a choice to make, I said finally. About the company, about the truth. You'll destroy everything, Mother warned. Everything's already destroyed. I helped Daphne to my couch, but maybe we can build something real from the ruins. Real? Daphne laughed through her tears. What's real anymore? My phone buzzed one more time. An email from an anonymous address. Your grandfather's sins paid for your sister's parties. Your mother's crimes bought her social status. What will your silence cost? Tomorrow, I said, looking at my family's broken pieces scattered across my apartment. I'm calling a meeting. All of us, including the board of directors. You can't, Mother started, but I cut her off. I can. I will. And you're both going to be there. Why? Daphne asked. Because it's time we all faced the truth. Every ugly piece of it. Mother's face went pale. Ingrid, please. No more secrets, I said firmly. No more lies. No more pretending. As they left hours later, Mother to her empty mansion, Daphne to her suddenly hollow life, I thought about Grandfather's letter, about choices and consequences, about truth and redemption. Tomorrow would change everything. Again. But this time, the change would be honest, even if it burned us all to the ground. The boardroom fell silent as I laid out the last document. 12 directors, Mother, Daphne, Bentley and Sasha, all watching as I arranged the evidence of 3 decades of corporate crimes. Before we begin, I said, standing at the head of the table, I want to make something clear. This meeting isn't about revenge anymore, it's about responsibility. Responsibility? One of the older directors scoffed. You've frozen accounts, leaked scandals, and now you're threatening... I'm threatening nothing, I interrupted. I'm showing you the truth, starting with trial 247. Mother flinched visibly. Daphne, surprisingly sober, gripped the edge of the table. 19 deaths, I continued, projecting the original documents. Covered up, buried, data manipulated to secure patents that have generated billions. That was 30 years ago, another director protested. The statute of limitations. Doesn't apply to the ongoing fraud, Bentley cut in, standing beside me, or the current trials using corrupted baseline data. I clicked to the next slide. $342 million in settlement payments, all disguised as research grants or charitable donations. I looked at Mother. All approved by the PR department. You have no idea what you're doing, she whispered. Actually, I do. I placed a thick folder on the table. This is my proposal for restructuring the entire trust and company. The room erupted in protests. I waited them out. 50% of all liquid assets will go to establishing a foundation, I continued over their objections, focusing on two things: scholarships for medical ethics students and rehabilitation programs for victims of corporate fraud. You'll bankrupt us, someone shouted. No, I replied calmly. I'll save us, because the alternative is I take everything public, every document, every crime, every name. Daphne stood up suddenly. What about us, your family? That's the second part. I met her eyes. You and Mother have a choice. 5 years of nothing, no trust payments, no access, no privileges, or what? Mother demanded. Or you do the work. Both of you enter intensive therapy. Both of you volunteer with the Foundation's programs. Both of you learn what it means to earn something instead of taking it. This is absurd. Mother started to rise, but Sasha spoke up from her corner. Is it more absurd than building your life on dead people's suffering? The room went quiet again. You have 1 hour to decide, I said, gathering my papers. Choose carefully. In the hallway outside, Bentley caught up with me. You okay? No, I leaned against the wall. But I'm right. They'll fight it. Let them. I checked my phone. Messages from Frank confirming the legal paperwork was ready. Everything's in place. An hour later, I returned to find the room divided. Half the board had resigned in protest. The other half, seeing the evidence, agreed to the restructuring. Mother sat alone, her perfect makeup streaked with tears. I'll do it, Daphne said quietly. The therapy, the volunteering, everything. Regina, Bentley prompted. Mother looked up, suddenly seeming much older. You really are his granddaughter, same steel spine. She took a shaky breath. I accept your terms. Good. I signed the first set of documents, because this isn't punishment. It's a chance to rebuild, to be better. And the company? One of the remaining directors asked. We'll continue operating, but with new oversight. Real ethics boards, real transparency, real responsibility. As everyone filed out, Sasha touched my arm. You did it. Did I? I watched Mother and Daphne leave together, both looking lost in their designer clothes. Or did I just trade one kind of control for another? You traded lies for truth, she said simply. That's never wrong. Later that night, I found a package outside my door. Inside was a framed photo of me as a child, partially burned around the edges. On the back, someone had written, "Justice or punishment." I thought about Mother's confession of abuse, about Daphne's breakdown, about Grandfather's final letter. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. You're different from them. Don't forget that. I placed the burned photo on my desk, a reminder of choices and consequences, of power and responsibility, of the fine line between justice and vengeance. Tomorrow the papers would announce the restructuring. Tomorrow the real work would begin. But tonight, sitting in my quiet apartment, I finally felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not because I'd won, not because I'd punished them, but because for the first time in the Arnold family history, someone had chosen truth over power. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to break the cycle. You look different, Bentley said, watching me pack up my office at the Arnold building. Lighter somehow. Amazing what giving away billions can do for your complexion. I placed my grandfather's photo in a box. How's the foundation launch going? First round of scholarships went out this morning. 20 students. He handed me a letter. This one asked to thank you personally. I unfolded the paper, reading, I don't know who you are, but someone like you changed everything for me. Thank you for turning corporate greed into student dreams. Sasha called, Bentley continued, said Daphne's doing well in her program. 3 months sober, I nodded. She's starting to counsel other trust fund kids about addiction and identity. Actually seems to mean it. And Regina. Mother. I paused, remembering our last conversation. She's trying. The therapy's helping her face what father did, who she became because of it. My phone buzzed. A message from the anonymous number that had haunted me for months. You did what your grandfather couldn't. You chose right over easy. Moving to the smaller office feels like admitting defeat, Bentley mused, looking around the executive suite. No, I corrected. It feels like choosing purpose over power. The ethics consulting firm doesn't need marble floors. Speaking of choices, he shifted nervously, would you like to have dinner, not as your lawyer, not as your friend, as something else? I smiled, surprising myself. Yes. A knock at the door interrupted us. Daphne stood there, looking startlingly normal in jeans and a simple sweater. Need help packing? She asked hesitantly. I'm good at organising things now, part of the recovery program. Sure, I said, watching my sister, my actual sister, not the social media construct she'd been, start carefully wrapping photo frames. Mother wanted to come, she said quietly, but her group therapy session ran late. Is she still mad about the mansion sale? No. Daphne smiled slightly. She said turning it into a recovery centre was fitting, trading ballrooms for healing rooms, she called it. My phone buzzed again, Frank this time. Board approved the final restructuring. The company's clean, really clean. Did you ever think, Daphne asked, holding up an old family photo, that losing everything would help us find ourselves? Before I could answer, Sasha burst in. You all need to see this. She held up her tablet showing a news article. Arnold Foundation launches groundbreaking ethics initiative. Corporate accountability meets social responsibility. The comments section, she scrolled down. Look, hundreds of messages from former employees, whistleblowers and families affected by the old regime, all expressing hope in the changes. One caught my eye. My mother died in trial 247. Today, I feel like she finally got justice. That's what grandfather wanted, I realised. Not just for me to fix his mistakes, but to prove that power can serve purpose. Speaking of purpose, Bentley picked up a stack of business cards. Your new title, Ethics Consultant and Foundation Director. Quite a change from Trustee of Family Secrets. Keep one of the old cards, Daphne suggested, to remind us. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The designer masks were gone, replaced by something real, something honest. I have something better to remind us, I said, pulling out the burned photo from my desk. Justice or punishment. Turns out there's a third option. What's that? Sasha asked. Redemption. My phone buzzed one final time. Mother, the therapist says I'm ready to talk about your father. Really talk, if you're willing to listen. I showed the message to Daphne. She squeezed my hand. We should go, she said softly. Both of us. Looking around my half-packed office, at these people who had helped me transform revenge into restoration, I felt something shift. The weight of the Arnold legacy lifted, replaced by the possibility of what we could build from its ashes. Dinner first, I asked Bentley. Dinner first, he agreed. As we left together, lawyer turned something more, sister turned ally, friend turned family, I thought about choices, about how breaking things is easy, but rebuilding them takes courage. The burned photo stayed on my desk. its question answered not in words but in actions, in scholarships and healing rooms, in sister lunches and mother-daughter therapy sessions, in turning power into purpose, justice or punishment. Neither. We chose transformation instead, and that made all the difference.